Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the 8-Bit Nation. It is I, 8-Bit Eric, your host, your master of ceremonies for these Nintendo Switch reviews. Today we are going to check out a game that actually just came to the Switch. It's called Vaporum, and it looks rather interesting. It is a 3D grid-based dungeon crawler in a steampunk setting. Sounds enticing enough for me to want to sink my teeth into it. I decided, hey, you know what? Let's take a good look at this game and see what it's all about and find out if it is worth getting for your Nintendo Switch. So let's go ahead, let's kick it. And I can't think of anything else witty to say, so let's just begin today's video. So Vaporum, this game actually came out about a year ago, maybe over a year ago, on PC. Again, it is a dungeon crawler. If you grew up playing some old PC style games and you're into this type of stuff, you know, some of those older dungeon crawling type of experiences, Vaporum will be a welcomed addition. Now, it is grid based, which means your character can only move in one of four directions: front, back, left, and right. And while that is basic in its gameplay design, it actually offers a little bit of a challenge in regards to combat and puzzle solving and just maneuvering in general. It kind of adds a little bit of a degree of some classic challenge to it. And, you know, most dungeon crawlers usually have that fantasy type of setting, you know, like old medieval like dungeons and castles and goblins and dragons and different creatures from, you know, that type of fantasy era, the Dungeons and Dragons type of thing. Well, this one, as I mentioned earlier, has a steampunk design, so you're gonna see more of an industrial look. You're gonna be like in hallways that have dripping water and gears and pipes and steam and robotic type of enemies and stuff, and it's real dark. That's the main thing about this game, is that the atmosphere is real dark and gritty. The steampunk setting actually drew my attention to this type of game, and I'm not too into dungeon crawlers. You know, I like RPG games and stuff, but dungeon crawlers, not so much. So I went in here with a opinion that would kind of be in the middle. You know, I'm not against them, but I'm not really for them. I'm kind of a guy that's just like, okay, you know, I've played some in the past. I don't know if I'm going to really like this one or not. Well, first foremost, this game was difficult. the creatures that you encounter are like flying robots, mutated insects, and beetle-looking things, and robots. And some of them actually deal a great bit of damage to you. There's probably next to nothing in regards to health power-ups in here. Once in a while you will uncover one by finding a secret in the maps, you know. And there was one area where I just had so much trouble getting past one of these enemies because the weapons you have limited ammo, or you have a crowbar, like a melee weapon, and it's just really hard to avoid getting damage from some of these enemies. You know, you can swipe up one grid, swipe the guy with your weapon, swipe back, and kind of time it, and it kind of works and stuff. But honestly, it's kind of like a battle of luck, and also, most importantly, depending on what rig you get. Now, rig, what am I talking about this? Well, in the beginning of the game, you get to pick one of a few rigs that have different abilities, different handicaps, and things like that. There's like a thermal rig, a combat rig, and a few others, and each one has its own attributes that help you in regards to one of your own stats and stuff. Like, one might have you be able to deal out a lot more damage or take more damage and things like that. So honestly, it just depends on what your gameplay style is. However, the battles are not optional. You have to actually combat all of these creatures because they will follow you throughout the dungeon, and there's no way of avoiding combat. Sometimes in RPGs, you can just go around and avoid, you know, fighting certain enemies unless it's turn-based and random encounters and stuff. But in this one, there's absolutely no way to avoid combat, and it's kind of tedious, actually, because the combat is not as fluid or as intuitive as some more advanced games that you would expect. There's a lot of RPG elements in this game, of course, but the combat just didn't kind of flow right, in my opinion. In fact, it was kind of like, fuck, I really gotta do this, and oh, damn it, I can't beat this fucking enemy. There's some puzzle solving and stuff. Most of it just is find a switch and put an object on it, or move a box somewhere to open up a path, or find a button to push, or twist a valve around to stop a steam from coming out of a pipe. Honestly, the item inventory system was kind of a little wonky at first for me to get used to. For example, I mentioned switches. There's a part where you have to put a brick on a switch, and I was trying to think, oh, you go to the item and you click use in the inventory, but that option wasn't there. You literally have to like drag the item to the screen and put it on a slot that appears like on the actual screen. It just didn't work out the way I thought it would. It was kind of a little wonky and stuff, but it wasn't game hindering in my opinion. Again, this game is actually really difficult because of the combat. There was another segment where I had to encounter like a small little window where this big robot would just shock everything, and you had to get a lever to open up further. And then there was also another enemy or two in the same screen. I was low on ammo, and it was like next to impossible to do this without basically kind of somehow running around and getting the lever, and then just luck of the draw. But it's not impossible, it's just really difficult. So this will challenge you. Now, the game does have one huge unique factor. There's like a stop time option that you can actually enable, where between your, I guess, movement on the grid, you can actually pause time to kind of give yourself a little bit of a breathing space to come up with like a strategy for these encounters and stuff. But to me, it just didn't work right. It kind of interrupted the flow of the game for me and kind of just made it a little bit more frustrating. So I didn't really use it too often. I just kind of ignored it, to be completely honest. So yeah, this game definitely was neat. The atmosphere, everything about it drew me to it. Just the combat left something a little bit to be desired. We're gonna go ahead and check it out real quick just for you guys, because I can sit here all day, talk about the game, my opinion and stuff, but we're gonna go ahead and demo it just for you guys watching this, and then we'll come back with my last thoughts. Alright guys, so this is the beginning of the game. Just to give you guys a clue of how it works, it's grid based, so you can only move up, down, left or right, and then you can also turn, but it's kind of like a hard thing to explain. To use or to look at items on screen, you hold the ZR, and then if there's something that you can push, it shows that icon. And it's a little bit of puzzle solving, mostly with some combat. And again, as my video mentioned so far, it is a dungeon crawler. So it's a tribute to older games like that. There is some combat. It slightly comes at you though. It doesn't come too fast, but you'll see the puzzles are mostly like pushing blocks and finding ways around and stuff. The grid-based movement does take a little bit of getting used to, but it's not too bad. And of course, again, it is a steampunk setting, so it's dark, has a creepy atmosphere to it, and everything's just real robotic and industrial looking. It's a pretty neat game. Now this is the first part of the game where you pick the rig that you're going to use by coming back over here, and you can see there's different rigs. There's a heavy rig, the combat rig, the assault rig, stuff like that. I use the combat rig. That's the one that seems like it's worked for me the most. So now I'm changing into it, and I can proceed into the industrial dungeon. I guess that's what we can call it.
This feels familiar. I don't know why, but it feels like it's a part of me. I wonder if the door lets me through now.
Proceed. And as you can see, there's different paths, different ways of going about. And I have played a little bit of this game, so I'm kind of going through the
This
begin in
will
like a
come in
breeze. I already
handy.
equipped a weapon,
And there's
so I have a
writing on it.
weapon.
Happy
Unfortunately, it doesn't show
anniversary,
you it
Gordon.
swinging. It just shows like a generic swipe going across like that. You can use it to break items to search. Here we go. Alright. Boom. And yeah, so the opening segments, I think I'm going to combat right here. You'll see a robot here. First combat. Here we go. And yeah, this is basically the battle. And they attack at you in real time too. You can move during battle. Everything's real time. As you see, I just got experience. It's called like Fumion or something like that. So there is experience points that you eventually get that go towards your power and stuff like that, to your hits, how you perform as a character and stuff. So yeah, again, just eases you in. The beginning, you're not going to see too much in way of action. The game kind of eases your way into it. You know. So, there we go. And now you're going to see the first example of what I meant with a puzzle being used to solve opening doors here in a minute. So, be sure to check everything. You know, there's not too much in way of missing stuff, but you'll see. Yeah, I got a gun now, so I can do ranged attacks. So I need this key, obviously, to unlock the door that I missed over here. Oh shit! See, so here we go. Another enemy. And again, combat is kind of not optional. Like in a lot of RPGs, you can avoid conflict. You don't have to fight people if you don't want to. This one, it pretty much forces you. The enemies will follow you no matter where you go. And you will be forced to fight them no matter what. So there's no way around actually fighting. Oh, shoot, see?
Might hurt.
Obstacle. And then you're going to see a point where to solve this, basically, you just come around right there. So that's the extent of some puzzles right there. Easy stuff like that. Easy obstacle avoiding. Things like that. That was a health kit that I just found. It's a repair kit. Those aren't found too often. The game is pretty challenging. Here's another. Let's load up the gun, just so you guys can see what it looks like when it's. I probably should have tried to equip it when I wasn't being attacked, but yeah, this is how using the gun is, and it has a cooldown, of course. Boom, like that. Honestly, it takes a while. Now this is a switch that I mentioned. You know, you step off of it, it's like shit. So you gotta figure out what do, right? So you come over here, open the chest, take the brick, take everything. Now this is how items are used in the game. You basically have to go to your inventory, go to the item, and kind of place it. So it's kind of different. That took me a while to actually figure out. It looked a lot easier than what it initially did when I initially played. So yeah. And I am using my gun. There we go. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to give you guys a little taste. Don't want to give you too much. Don't want to reveal too much. But you can see how the game basically operates. So let's move forward. So Vaporum, as I mentioned, it's a callback to old school style dungeon crawlers in a steampunk setting. It has a very difficult challenge, and I know that this is right up some of you guys' alleys. This one kind of is, unique in its presentation, the atmosphere, everything about it, and it's a kind of a callback to games of yesteryear, there are some things about it, like I said, that just didn't flow right. The combat is a little tedious and difficult at times. Some people like this type of stuff. Me personally, I don't. So I'm not gonna say that this is a must-buy for my own personal experience, but you guys saw the demo yourself and things like that. So I know this is on PC. I don't know if maybe it's cheaper on Steam. Maybe there's an easier way to take a look at it on that way, and if you like it on Steam, then of course you might want to get it on your Nintendo Switch. I'm not going to say it's a must-have. This is just, you know, a dungeon crawling experience with some difficulty, and honestly, that's not my cup of tea. So yeah, guys, as always, thanks a lot for watching. If you're new to the channel, throw a subscription, like, comment, all that good jazz, and I will see you on the next episode of 8-Bit Eric. Have a great day.